Okay, well, we've got an interview coming up now. Delighted to say we're joined by Kilmacud Crokes star Craig Diaz at the launch of this year's Goal Mile campaign, proudly supported by AIB. This Christmas, AIB is encouraging communities across the island to sign up to step up together and re-establish the tradition of taking part in the Goal Mile. Delighted to have Craig on the line there. Craig, how are things with you?
Oh, I'm not too bad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Craig, I'm just wondering with the Goal Mile. I used to do it. Every Christmas Day back home in Burr. I'm wondering, are you the sort of lad now that heads out on Christmas Day and bangs it out and goes 100%, or do you just go around do you have a chat and kind of mingle with people while you're tipping around?
It depends. If we're going on a run in Leinster back 2018, you'd be going out, banging it out, and then going for a swim afterwards. But yeah, I might take it as a leisurely pace this year with the wee one. So an 18-month-old, so we'll make it a family affair.
Very good.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah. How much has that changed life, having an 18-year-old? So it was probably right in the thick of COVID when your baby was born.
Yeah, so luckily she came out the back end of COVID. So yeah, she got to kind of socialize a bit. There was no kind of sticking with the family too much. So she's meeting all the friends' family there too. So yeah, it has changed. It's given me a little Indian summer in that I'm not going for the pints as much, and I'm playing a lot more football. So
I thought an Indian summer was when you get back on the pints again and you can be that young lad again.
A young lad on the pitch, that's what it feels like at the moment.
Yeah.
Are you one of these lads as well, Craig, that you hear of a lot of lads would say, particularly within my own club, I've often said it, lads nearly spend more time down in the GA pitch after having a child almost. It's their kind of break almost, or their get out for a couple hours.
I don't want to give that away. She'll be listening to
it. In the next room, and she'll probably come in after you.
Yeah.
Craig, can you talk to us about your journey in football with Kilmacud Crokes, even as a young lad? And was it always football for you, or did you play other codes as well?
Good question. So my dad's from Angola, so soccer predominantly was in the house, and that was probably the first sport that we played. And it wasn't until I was in primary school that I was introduced to the GAA. I was out playing with my mates, and they were saying, "Okay, you're taking too many steps there," and I'm like, "What is this game?" But went up to Crokes under sevens, under eights, and then just be applying it there. So played soccer and Gaelic up to minor, and then I got involved with the Dublin minors. I gave up soccer, and I was focused on Gaelic all the way through from there. But yeah, it wouldn't really be a Dublin household. It would have, the lads I would have looked up to would have been kind of the likes of Liam McBarron, Johnny McGee, Darren McGee, Kilmacud Crokes lads. So wouldn't have really been going into Croke Park to watch Dublin play that much.
Really, yeah. And so then when you did get called up with the county, all of a sudden, did you get a bit of a grow more so in terms of representing the county, or was it still always club mainly for you?
No, definitely when I was involved with it. But then when I kind of went away with that, you can only focus on what's in front of you. Yes, I'd always have a love to get back in with Dublin. That was always a goal of mine, but it never came to fruition. And there's multiple factors. The club wasn't going as well as it was. Maybe personally, at different times of the year, I wasn't as focused as I should have been. But definitely there would have been a grow on a love for Dublin and to get back in there. And even still to this day, like I go and support Dublin. I watched them lose to Kerry. Everyone was talking about what Mannion could have done if he was back in the panel. And look, him and Jack are there. So maybe something happened with them on that day too. It's not something I talk to them about really. Well, Paul more so, because he's getting questioned left, right, and centre by the media and other people about whether he's going back in. So possibly could have been there that himself and Jack had that conversation. Let's go back in after that game.
Can you understand all the questions, Craig, from a point of view of, like, you see what Paul is doing with Kilmacud? He's obviously out at the moment, but you've seen him absolutely light it up the last couple of years. It is only natural for Dublin supporters to think, geez, if we had him, or can we get him back? Like, and obviously that might have maybe tugged at his heartstrings a small bit as well.
Oh, definitely. Maybe, like, you see a lot of intercounty lads leaving the intercounty scene at the moment, and it can be overbearing with the amount of work that they actually have to put into it. I think there was a study that came out, they're doing 31 hours a week. If you have a job on top of that, or you're trying to set up a career, that's 2 jobs that you have, and you might not have any other time or any other commitments there, so you put an awful lot of pressure on yourself, and that can have an impact on your mental health as well. So it's good to see that the lads have taken a step back, and now that maybe the love is back after playing with the club. Jack went off and did other things with charities as well. So it's great to see that, yes, they're taking a step away, but they're coming back to it as well.
Just in terms of your journey with Dublin, and maybe a decade or more ago when you were first on the scene, like, do you remember being called up, and how did you think it went for you?
So that would have happened. It all happened so quick. I broke onto the Crokes senior team. We're playing under the 21s with Dublin. I was after getting a glandular fever that year, so I didn't, as a squad player more so, I did get onto the squad for the Donegal final.
You're still there, don't worry. We just put you up full screen.
So I didn't get involved in that, but then went back in with the club, and Paddy Garry's with Donegal now. He said it'd been going well and that my chances will come. And it came in the Dublin final, got involved in the second half. And then lucky for me, we got an injury, and then one of the lads commuting, one of the midfielders, Niall there, commuted to London. So if space opened up in my position, and I came on against Portlaoise, scored a goal, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. Scored a goal against Crossmaglen, 2 points as well, playing some good football. And Paddy had us playing open, expansive football. And the first murmurs I heard about it were from David Nestor's, like, oh, you're going to be going in with Dublin. Pat Burke as well was saying it too, but it wasn't until afterwards that Paddy O'Donoghue gave me a shout, and then Pat Gilroy as well. So Paddy O'Donoghue's a club man in Kilmacud. He would have had me under 16s, and he's after coaching the ladies to the Leinster success there. So it was great to get involved, and then it was brilliant set.
Yeah, I remember one of the games you were playing in Croke Park, and I don't know if you ever heard this, but Marty Morrissey was doing commentary on the game, and he misspoke, and he called you Cameron Diaz for a second by mistake. Had you heard about that?
I think that was by design, but I did hear about it. Yeah, I did. That was my first championship match against Louth. But I think Cameron Diaz is bearing down on goal, so.
I hope Marty doesn't mind us bringing up that. It was all in good fun anyway. So like, when how did the journey kind of end with you with Dublin? I mean, how did that come about?
Like anything, new manager came in, he had his visions of what he wanted, and I just wasn't part of that. The same with Pat. Some of the players that were big on Jim's squad didn't take part in Pat's extended panel. So that just happens in the GA. Personalities, not that they clash, but they might not get on, or he might not see me as the type of player that he wanted in the squad. And that was it. The line was drawn in the sand. There were opportunities for me to come back in, but 2 occasions I was lucky that I was traveling with work, and the shout came out for a challenge game when I was away, and there was no way for me to get back for them. And yeah, maybe I just didn't take those chances when they were put in front of me for various reasons.
And what do you do for work?
I work in LinkedIn. So we digitalize sales teams with LinkedIn.
So there's a bit of traveling involved.
There is, yeah.
Oh,
it's on a global scale, so yeah, it's nice.
And you seem to be having a particularly good season with Crokes this year. I've been to a few of your matches, and would you put that down to anything in particular, or maybe you've been consistent anyway? We just haven't been noticing, but you do seem to be having an excellent season.
I think I have been consistent over the year, but the last 2 years it's kicked up a notch, and there's probably 2 reasons for that. And myself and Robbie sat down with the birth of my child and said, look, I'm fully committed to the team, but maybe I can take a step back in the league campaign so I can just focus on the championship and getting the body right for that. I'm getting older as well, so I'm conscious that I don't want to put too many miles on the clock in the season, because they are long campaigns if you want to go all the way. And then secondly, Chris Coburn has come in as a strength conditioning coach, and he's he's put us through the paces. He really, really has. He's got us doing stuff that we wouldn't have done before, we even thought of before. So it's kudos to him. He can get us running for 60 minutes and even longer now.
What sort of training are we talking about there, Craig, with regards to different stuff maybe that you hadn't done before?
I don't know if you lads know, Shane, you probably know, but with Cool playing, over the years there was a focus on mass runs in pre-season. While they're tough, I just felt that it didn't translate into a game in terms of, right, you're in the dogs of it now in a championship match and you're mentally fatigued. Doing long distance running, but the right amount of long distance running, it gets you that mental fortitude as well. And he had us doing more long distance running, but time trials with a short break, another time trial, and a few of those. And it's really, really tough. And lads were improving their 2Ks. I think we're starting in the high 8s and we're finishing in some people breaking 6 minutes, you know. So those are stats you hear AFL teams putting up. So it's really, really good stuff. And then he has us doing other stuff. I won't give away trade secrets, but he has us doing other stuff as well. But it's really, really positive stuff that he has us doing.
Probably no coincidence that you're finishing games really strongly as well. And even in your heads, you know, even like the Coola game, which was very tight coming down the home stretch, you know there's more in the tank. You know that you'll potentially finish stronger than the opposition.
Definitely. And then we have the bench as well, too. So last year, one of the learns that we took, Kilmacud, they would have played, I think, 2 or 3 extra time games. So that would have put a lot in them. You can't really be doing fitness work in the middle of a campaign. So that would have aided them. Yes, okay, maybe afterwards they might probably take the Tuesday off and recover a bit more, but it's still going to be in their legs. And we felt that maybe that kind of got them over the line a little bit. The fact that they could have been that much fitter than us. Like I came off because I was getting cramps in the game, and maybe if I had those fitness levels, it might have been a different story because I felt like I was having a good game that day.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. Kilmacud have gone to extra time or penalties 3 times this year again, so they're going to have that. Yeah, they have. Yeah, just in the down championship, so they haven't the legs again. Another thing I was going to ask you about, Craig, is obviously Shane Walsh getting involved this year, and you know there's that video of him being cheered around on people's shoulders in I suppose in the pavilion afterwards when you were celebrating the county title win. I mean, how good is he? Never mind just how he's fitted in as a person. It seems he's fitted in really well. But just like, has he done stuff in training and matches that you weren't expecting? Because obviously he's so talented.
There was one score in particular against Thomas Davis where I was standing beside the ref, and he just did 2 things to manipulate the defender to go that way. And the referee just goes, Jesus Christ. I stand beside him. And I was just like, shit, that's unbelievable. That's all you can say. But he'll do that in training. And he's coming up against brilliant backs. Like Nafina have brilliant backs, and he's doing that against them as well. So there's not much he can't do. And what I've been really impressed with is, yes, that I haven't seen, like Paul Mannion will take on players, but Shane can manipulate players a different way, just by the way he bounces the ball or solos the ball. But I'm really impressed with his tackling, and I slag him over it as well. And I think he's tackling more because I'm slagging him more about it. But he's getting dispossessions nearly every game. He's getting a dispossession or 2 as well. So that's an unseen side of his game that is going unnoticed at the moment.
And you mentioned that Thomas Davis game, and I think he conceded 1-1 at the start of it. And I remember, like, I was at that game and I was down by the sideline. And what really struck me was it's only a couple of months since Shane Walsh got involved in the club, but he's out there actually directing traffic, telling lads where to go. And I just thought it was quite impressive that he can come into a club that's already, you know, got such pedigree as he have and getting to an All-Ireland final. And the fact that he's coming in and he's happy to sort of direct traffic straight away, that I thought that was a great sign in terms of, but then again, at the same time, the rest of the players on the team, you know, they have to be okay with a guy coming in and straight away he's barking at lads.
100%. So again, I was surprised with his character when he came in. He's a really good team player. Like he listened first, and then he was given feedback. He's able to articulate the game plan within the space of a week. So his acumen for the game is second to none. So he's able to pick all that up pretty quickly. So the fact that he is able to demonstrate to lads that he knows what we're trying to do, and then in training games we'd work on that a lot. So it's not just him who's dictating it; everyone will be as well. So you're probably just noticing that he's doing it, but others are doing it as well. But there's no issues with him coming in and doing that from the start, because he was able to pick up everything else and what we're trying to do. I think one of the first pre-match team meetings he was involved in, he was able to tell everyone what our game plan is. So it's brilliant.
Yeah. So you mentioned your dad is from Angola. Have you ever visited there?
I've only gone over once. Like, Dad was heavily involved in politics, and there was a civil war going on for years, and even to this day there's kind of an acrimonious air about the different political parties. But fortunately I only got over when Dad passed for his funeral. But it was great to see all the family. Like, we'd have family coming over to Portugal, because Angola used to be a colony of Portugal. So cousins in Lisbon, we'd see them. Aunties, uncles, we'd see them. It was just great to see everyone. Sad occasion, but it's a completely different world over there. What's going on?
I was going to ask, what was his involvement in politics? Could you give us a little bit of an outline on that?
Yeah, it's pretty high. Like, he'd have talks with Bertie Ahern. He's part of UNITA, which is one of the government parties over there. MPLA would have been the ruling party. They'd be communist-backed Russians when they originated, and they ended up winning the Civil War. But Dad would have been heavily involved. He would have been going back over. He would have been meeting with Samakuva, Savimbi. When we went over, we would have stayed with the president of UNITA. He would have been Dad's best friend. Geez, it cuts me up talking about it. But his family and his country, he had a grow for his country. He wanted to do the best for it, really. Like, the whole place was pillaged, and still is pillaged today for all the resources.
Did you ever have any interest yourself in going into anything political, Craig, as a result of that, or a bit as an influence of his?
He'd never really. He wouldn't want us getting involved. Like, I wouldn't speak Portuguese. Dad would teach us it, but because he was so heavily involved, my mom just had a fear that we would get involved. So she asked that he kind of kept that separate. So he made the decision to stop teaching us Portuguese. Like, that's how far he wanted us out of it. But even so, like, I was in UCD doing commerce. We had someone coming in to talk about diamond mines, and Dad was able to say, was it XYZ? I'm like, yeah, okay, you need to ask him this question. So, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's something that he would have kind of kept aside. Like, I'd be asking him the whole time, and he wouldn't be telling us too much. It wasn't until we went over to Angola, like, we'd be sitting with the general secretary. He'd be telling us stories of what Dad actually did, and it just gives you immense pride and joy to be related, to be a son, really.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular that he would have done that kind of struck a chord at you, thinking, wow, that's amazing?
He would have done a lot. Like, even we'd get taxis home after a night out, after coppers, and it might be an Angolan taxi driver, and he's like, your dad helped me out.
Go away.
Yeah. Or even, I think last year my brother was getting his hair cut in a barber in Dundrum. We're in Goldstein, and he was able to, didn't know who my brother was or if he was related to my dad, but he was like, oh, there's a guy, Leon Diaz. My brother was saying, yeah, that's my dad. So he helped out the community, but he also did a lot of fundraising for the political party. He would have been going over to the UN trying to raise funds for it, like meet with Bertie Ahern, trying to get funds for it as well, and just getting recognition for UNITA and the troubles that were going on in Angola.
That's quite amazing. And just a question, do you have any, what age were you when you went over to visit Angola, and like, just even in terms of how it looks, the scenery, could you give us a sort of an insight?
I would have been 29, and like, you'd be going down the M50, and you turn off the road, you might see a Ferrari, and then beside it, you get a glimpse of someone going down a side street with a wheelbarrow of water, right? And there's main roads, and then you'd have the port area that you'd have like skyscrapers, and it might be like the Boers diamonds, but they wouldn't be like your quintessential city group or anything like that. It's all diamond companies, it's mining companies, it's oil companies, all of this that are running the show there. So it's just really eye-opening. Like, we would have gone to a few of the communities as well to see what's going on in Luanda. It's an extremely expensive city. You're talking a steak might be like 100 quid or something. It's one of the most expensive cities for expats in the world, really. So
Wow.
there's just a real gulf between the rich and the poor. Like, I've never seen anything like it. We keep aiming to go back with COVID and stuff like that. Like, we've loads of family who's still in touch with them. Also.
Okay, well, look, Craig, been really interesting chatting to you, and look, best of luck with the rest of the season, and hopefully you'll get out to Angola sometime again soon, and we might even chat to you about it.
I'll bring you with me. We'll bring a few on Neil's boss.
Give me one of these steaks, Craig, if you can, please. I'll bring a few back.
They're the same price out in Stillorgan, sure.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Right, lads.
Okay,
Thanks.
see you, Craig. All the best.
Cheers.